What's up, YouTube? Like, wouldn't that be super annoying if I started every video like that? Like, just some weird, incoherent barking or something. But, yeah, best card in the game, top 4. I'm really glad that I actually made it this far in a timely manner. That was sarcastic. Um, we have D-Hero Disc Commander, Spellbook of Judgment, Chaos Emperor Dragon, and Painful Choice. Um, kind of, well... I think definitely I think the number 1 and 2 cards are definitely up here. Not so sold about everything else, but I mean that's why I want to do like a tournament style instead of have a 3-hour long discussion analyzing every card against. That would have taken way too long anyway. But let's get into the first pairing, and by randomizing this one, I just concised everything. Obviously, you can see that I started to do that towards a lot of the later rounds. Let's talk about Painful Choice and D-Hero Disc Commander. So in the last round, D-Hero Disc Commander beat Cartosafe Return, and a lot of what I attributed Disc Commander being... Wow, I just ruined that sentence. Why I said Disc Commander was better than Cartosafe Return is because they had similar effects. However, Disc Commander was infinitely more abusable, and you could honestly build a deck around Disc Commander. Though that argument eventually kind of fizzles out. Like, drawing... I mean, that's one reason why I didn't want to include Pot of Greed, Graceful Charity, and Pot of Avarice. Because when a card... For all intents... I mean, Graceful Charity and Pot of Avarice do more things. But when the card's purpose is to draw cards and not go minus, then it starts to get really... Sometimes it's just hard to talk about and compare it to other cards, because getting more cards is generally accepted as better than everything else, but the reason you want to get more cards is so you can do more things, because you want more powerful cards. I mean, like, it's like stupid to compare Pot of Greed versus something like Chaos Emperor Dragon. It's like, well, Chaos Emperor Dragon blows up the field. What's Pot of Greed going to draw you? 2 cards? Ha, those cards probably aren't very good. What if they're 2 fucking Chaos Emperor Dragons? Like, that's why the argument just gets silly after a while. And why... in this case, it's really hard to put Disc Commander against something like Painful Choice. Painful Choice is... I mean, it's very hard to hide my personal opinion on the best card in the game anymore when there's only 4 choices left. But, I mean, Painful Choice is so stinking broken when you think about it. I mean, literally, its worst part... I mean, like, the fact that you have to actually play it is like its biggest downfall. Like you have to take time to activate the card. That is like the downside to the card. Like you have to play it. I mean, that doesn't even make sense. But, I mean, graveyard manipulation is like the bee's knees right now. And when crap like Foolish Burial and Dragon Shrine is actually considered really good, and like for like Return Dad, I think it was just Return Dad. Yeah, it was just Return Dad. That Armageddon Knight and Dark Grove, like all these stupid -1s. If those cards are considered central and incredibly good for, I mean, hell, things like Burial and Foolish are limited to 1, and you know, Dragon Shrine, Armageddon Knight, all that stuff was really heavily played, and for certain times, like those don't actually do anything for you. Those are, you know, oftentimes -1s, or like I guess Armageddon Knight is a monster. The fact that Painful Choice you still allowed to keep a card after that is just. I mean, that's just fucking broken. I mean, there are very, 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 very few strategies that I would not use this in. Like, something like Spellbooks I may not necessarily use it in because, I mean, let's see. Well, I mean, the Spellbooks, what if you got like a Priestess and 4 Spellbooks? Like, I mean, your opponent's probably going to choose... I mean, what if they were all good spellbooks too? Or not necessarily good, but you got like a Priestess, a Master, a Secrets, a Wisdom. Okay, Wisdom would probably be the one they would choose. Or like a Life and something like, you know, another Secrets, because you can get multiple cards. Like your opponent has no good options. Like they literally just loaded up your graveyard for either Life or Fate or something like that, or they gave you a really good card in your hand. Like they probably wouldn't have given you Priestess at this point. But then what if you just? I mean, that's tutoring for a Priestess without. You know, instantly not during your end phase. That's amazing. Like Painful Choice accelerates the game state so far. Like if you open that turn 1, that propels you so far into the duel ahead. It's not even funny. Like I laughed, but it's not even funny. on the flip side of it, and so painful, like I could talk for an hour about Painful Choice, but now we're going to compare it to Disc Commander. It's impossible to, like, even whether it's Dark Creator or Call of the Haunted or Limit Reverse. I'm trying to think of other revival cards right now. Like, Disc Commander is probably the most abusable way to draw something, and that is, it's if it was just to draw one, that would not be good because you're barely getting your return from it. But the fact that, and I know some people don't like to use this terminology, the fact that you can just amass card advantage so easily and recursively is just, I mean, kind of is a little insane. But at the end of the day, I think I'm going to have to give it to Painful Choice, and I think some of you would probably think it's like, of course, Lucas, you give it to Painful Choice over Disc Commander because Disc Commander just draws cards. But, I mean, Painful Choice is just a better card. I mean, Disc Commander, I don't want to say it requires setup and, like, dedication around it, but, I mean, it's nowhere near Painful Choice. I mean, Painful Choice just starts you. Painful Choice is never, I mean, first of all, drawing it's better. But, yeah, I think I'm going to give it to Painful Choice in the end. And on the other side of the bracket, which will be one of these cards will be meeting Painful Choice for the finals, it's Chaos Emperor Dragon versus Spellbook of Judgment. In the last round, I compared Crush Card Virus versus Chaos Emperor Dragon, and I maybe spoke a little prematurely, but I said that Chaos Emperor Dragon was better because it ends games rather than just setting you up to crush your opponent for a couple of turns and then, you know, win because they don't have anything, rather than just winning outright with the burn damage or anything like that. Chaos Emperor Dragon is a highly volatile card, and there are a decent amount of counters to it. Like, there's, I mean, everything with monster removal, and you do have to have proper setup, and et cetera, et cetera. You do have to draw it out. I mean, Equip's Wyvern does tutor it, and that's amazing in and of itself. But when looking at something versus Spellbook of Judgment, one reason, more of a principle than a reason than its actual effect, is Spellbook of Judgment accumulates you card advantage. It rewards you, and I said this a lot in the last round, it rewards you for playing cards. And conceptually, that is unfair. Like, you shouldn't do things like, when you play spell. Sure, the cards aren't just like drawing cards or searching out any cards from your deck, but the fact that you are rewarded so heavily for doing what you would normally do in a turn is just kind of a little ridiculous. I mean, it's almost like someone paying you. It's like, congratulations, you woke up today, and here's $100. It's like, wow, that's great. Like, that's how I feel about Spellbook of Judgment. I mean, let's say you play Judgment, and then you go through your normal boring phase, you know, summon Blue Boy, activate secrets, get master, blah, 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 or whatever like that. Then all of a sudden, at the end of your turn, like, you had 3, 4, 5 cards in your hand. Now you have 9. Like that. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack from this, but and while Chaos Emperor Dragon should never be overlooked, and the burn damage especially should never be overlooked, I don't think I can give it to Chaos Emperor Dragon over Spellbook of Judgment for what Spellbook of Judgment stands for as a card. The fact that you are just rewarded heavily because you exist, and that is, in my book, very hard to beat. I think that's not. I hope they don't print more cards like Spellbook of Judgment, where, you know, you get pluses for activating cards. And well, it's very obvious, but here are your final two: Painful Choice versus Spellbook of Judgment. I mean, your opinions are your opinions, and if these aren't the two of the best cards in your game, two of the best cards in your opinion in the game right now, that is totally fine. But I legitimately think that these are the two best cards in the game. So, maybe not. I mean, a lot of this is, I think you could honestly argue both ways on a lot of cards, and so maybe by a thin margin, Chaos Emperor Dragon should be Spellbook of Judgment, or however things should work out. But see you next time for that video, and hopefully it won't have too long of a discussion. Painful Choice versus Spellbook of Judgment.